Alliance diplomatic advisor James Carter was assigned to personally greet Queen Caelvestra of the Thessaran sovereignty. A monarch with a well-earned and widely recognized reputation for arrogance and obvious disdain toward species, she considered beneath her station, which pragmatically included virtually everyone. The pre-meeting briefing was explicitly clear. Queen Caelvestra expected absolute deference from those around her, tolerated no casual interaction or informal approach, and had previously walked out of diplomatic functions where she felt insufficiently respected by attendees. She was politically powerful. Her realm was strategically important to Alliance interests, and Alliance diplomatic officials were desperate to maintain functional relations despite her notoriously difficult personality. James was selected for the greeting assignment specifically because his record showed he was exceptionally good at managing difficult personalities without either excessive groveling or giving unintended offense. A diplomatic tightrope walk that required genuine confidence. The Queen arrived at Alliance headquarters with elaborate formal ceremony. Her delegation was formal to the point of being rigid. She herself was visually striking, tall even for a Thessaran, elegantly dressed, with a practiced expression that suggested everyone present was wasting her extremely valuable time. James greeted her with appropriate formality but genuine confidence, not deferential, not arrogant, just professionally respectful as one experienced diplomat to another. Your Majesty, welcome to Alliance headquarters. I'm James Carter, assigned to facilitate your visit and ensure everything proceeds smoothly. If there's anything you need to make your stay more comfortable, please don't hesitate to ask. He extended his hand for a formal handshake, standard Alliance diplomatic protocol. Queen Caelvestra's gaze dropped immediately to his hand, specifically to the ring he was wearing on his right hand. An old silver ring with distinctive markings, clearly worn consistently for many years. She froze completely. Her practiced expression shifted from calculated arrogance to genuine shock. "This can't be," she said, barely audible. Her entire delegation noticed her unprecedented reaction, equally shocked. Queen Caelvestra never showed surprise or uncertainty. This was completely unprecedented behavior. James had absolutely no idea what was happening. "Your Majesty, is something wrong?" She reached out, not to accept the handshake, but to grasp his wrist firmly, turning his hand to examine the ring more closely. "Where did you get this specific ring?" "It was my grandfather's. He gave it to me before he died about 15 years ago. Your Majesty, what's this about?" "Your grandfather, he was human." "Yes, he was an independent freight pilot, spent most of his life working in deep space. Died about 15 years ago. Your Majesty, what's this about?" Queen Caelvestra was still staring at the ring, and James saw something he wouldn't have thought remotely possible. Her eyes were wet, like she was actively fighting tears. "I need to speak with you privately, immediately." In a secure private diplomatic conference room, away from her delegation and other Alliance officials, Queen Caelvestra sat directly across from James, still staring at the ring on his hand. "That ring belonged to someone I knew," she said quietly, her voice completely different from her earlier formal tone. "Someone very important to me. I gave it to him 60 years ago." James processed this information carefully. "You gave this specific ring to my grandfather 60 years ago. I didn't know his actual name. We met by chance at a remote trading station on the frontier. I was not queen then. I was young, traveling, deliberately hiding from responsibilities I didn't want to face." She took a deep breath, visibly steadying herself. "He was a freight pilot, genuinely kind, authentically interested in who I actually was rather than what I represented. We spent 3 weeks at that station while his ship was being repaired. I fell in love with him, completely, stupidly in love. My grandfather never mentioned knowing any Thessaran woman in his past, because I never told him who I really was. I was hiding from my actual identity, from the fact that I was supposed to return home and accept arranged marriage to consolidate political alliances. I told him I was just another traveler. When his ship was finally repaired, I gave him that ring. It was all I had to give that actually mattered. He asked me to come with him. I said no. I had responsibilities, a realm that desperately needed me. I watched him leave, and I've thought about that specific choice every single day for 60 years. James looked at the ring with completely new understanding. His grandfather had worn it constantly his entire life, never explained where it came from, always seemed inexplicably sad when anyone asked about it. You returned and became queen. I returned home, accepted my responsibilities, married appropriately for political stability, ruled well and effectively. My husband died 20 years ago. We never had children, we were never compatible in that way. I've spent my entire life being exactly the queen I was supposed to be. But I never forgot the man I loved who asked me to choose differently. And you've been, James struggled for appropriate diplomatic phrasing. Difficult. In diplomatic settings. She actually laughed, bitter and genuinely sad. I've been arrogant and cold because it was substantially easier than being real with anyone. After I chose duty over love, I decided emotion was weakness. I built walls so high no one could possibly reach me. I became exactly what a queen should be, powerful, untouchable, completely alone. He talked about you, James said quietly. Not by name, not with identifying details. But sometimes he'd look at this ring and say he'd once met someone extraordinary. He said he'd asked her to choose him, and she chose something else instead. He never seemed angry about it, just sad. He understood duty. Queen Kaelvestra was openly crying now, decades of carefully suppressed emotion breaking through meticulously maintained walls. Did he have a good life? He did. He married my grandmother, had children and grandchildren. He genuinely loved her. But you're right that there was always something, I don't know how to describe it exactly. A sadness. Like part of him stayed at that trading station 60 years ago. They talked for hours. Queen Kaelvestra wanted to know everything about James's grandfather. His life, his family, his career, whether he was genuinely happy. James told her what he could, painting a detailed picture of a man who lived well, loved his family deeply, but carried a quiet, persistent sadness his whole life. The ring, James said. What's the specific significance? The markings aren't standard Thesaurine. It's from an older cultural tradition. The markings represent a bond, not formal marriage, but a promise between two people. I had it specially made when I thought I might ask him to stay with me instead of asking myself to go with him. But I couldn't ask him to give up his entire life, and I couldn't abandon my responsibilities. So I gave him the ring as a permanent reminder that someone had loved him completely, even if I couldn't choose him. He treasured it, wore it literally every single day until he died. And you wear it now. It was the only thing he specifically requested be given to me before he died. I didn't understand why at the time. I have cousins, other grandchildren who were closer to him, but he wanted me to have this specifically. Now I understand. He somehow knew I'd end up in diplomatic work, that there was a chance I might eventually meet you. Queen Kaelvestra looked at him carefully. You have his eyes, the same way of looking at things directly, honestly. Is that why you froze when you saw the ring? Just the object itself? Partly, but also because you were wearing it so casually, confidently greeting me like an equal. Your grandfather had that exact same confidence, not arrogance, just genuine comfort with who he was. Seeing you wear his ring, greeting me that way. For a moment, it was like he was standing there again. I'm sorry. I can't imagine how painful this must be. Don't apologize. This is. I've spent 60 years wondering what happened to him, if he ever thought of me, if he had a good life after I chose to leave. Knowing he did, that he had family and love, that he kept the ring and remembered me, that's not pain. That's closure I never expected to receive. The diplomatic summit continued over several days, but Queen Kaelvestra was noticeably different. The practiced arrogance was completely gone, replaced by something substantially more genuine. She engaged with alliance officials as actual people rather than viewing them as beneath her notice. Her delegation was visibly shocked by the dramatic change in her demeanor. James remained her primary diplomatic contact throughout the summit. They developed a genuine working relationship built on the strange foundation of his grandfather's memory. On the final day before her departure, she requested to speak with him privately one more time. I want you to know that meeting you, learning about your grandfather's life, it's fundamentally changed something for me. I built impenetrable walls after I chose duty over love. I became cold because I thought that's what being a good queen absolutely required. But seeing you wear that ring, learning he had a good life, that he kept my promise physically close to him, it's made me realize I've been punishing myself for 60 years for a choice that maybe was right for both of us. He understood why you chose duty. He never spoke badly of you, never seemed bitter. Just sad that circumstances couldn't be different. I've been sad and bitter for 6 decades. Perhaps it's finally time to let that go. What will you do differently? I don't know yet specifically, but I think I'll start by remembering that being a good queen doesn't require being cold. Your grandfather taught me that people genuinely matter, that authentic connection is valuable. I forgot that lesson when I chose to leave him. Perhaps it's time to remember it. Before she left, she asked, "May I see the ring one more time?" James slipped it off and handed it to her. She held it carefully, tears in her eyes again. "I gave this to him because I loved him and couldn't choose him. He gave it to you. Would you consider letting me see it occasionally? Not to keep, it's yours, his legacy to you. But perhaps when our diplomatic paths cross, you might let me remember for a moment what I felt 60 years ago before I built these walls." "Of course, Your Majesty. Kale Vestra. When it's just us, you can call me Kale Vestra." Your grandfather did. Queen Kale Vestra's diplomatic reputation changed dramatically over the following years. She was still formidable, still commanded genuine respect, but the arrogance was completely gone. She engaged authentically with other leaders, showed unexpected empathy, built alliances based on actual relationships rather than just strategic calculation. People noticed the significant change, speculated about what had caused it. The official story remained deliberately vague, something about a renewed perspective on leadership priorities. James and Kale Vestra maintained regular contact. Not frequently, but consistently enough that their diplomatic interactions became genuinely collaborative rather than merely professional. When people asked James about his unusual relationship with the Queen, he kept the specific details private. "I wear a ring that has personal significance to her. It connects us to someone we both cared about deeply." That connection created mutual respect, and Kale Vestra's perspective, shared only with her closest confidants. 60 years ago, I loved someone completely and chose duty over that love. I've spent those 60 years being the perfect queen, cold, arrogant, completely untouchable. Then I met his grandson wearing the ring I gave him, and I realized I'd been carrying guilt and sadness as punishment for a choice that maybe was right for both of us. He had a good life. He loved and was loved. He remembered me but didn't let that memory destroy him. Meeting his grandson freed me to finally let go of the walls I built and remember that being a good queen doesn't require being alone. I greeted the arrogant queen. She froze at the sight of my ring. "This can't be." Became their story about how physical objects carry emotional legacy, how choices made in love can haunt for decades, how closure can come from completely unexpected sources,